How many unknown secrets are hidden in the vast ocean? What does the mysterious underwater world really look like? These questions may not have complete answers yet, but ever since humans learned to dive, it's been like opening the first page of an encyclopedia, and the deeper we look, the more fascinated we become. Here are 15 recent terrifying deep-sea discoveries. Number 15. The Lost City of Zakinthos. Seeing here, I believe everyone must have discovered that many historical sites in the world were discovered by divers inadvertently. This opportunity to make great achievements by accident may be one of the reasons why many people are obsessed with diving. And in Greece, one of the birthplaces of ancient civilization, there is also a group of tourists. After returning from the small northern island of Zakinthos, they reported that they found many columnar discs during diving, which felt like the ruins of an ancient city. As soon as this news came out, the archaeological community attached great importance to it. But this time, the conclusion they drew may disappoint tourists. The mineral composition was tested by X-rays and microscopes. The researchers said that these columnar circles that look like donuts, the plate, is actually a geological structure formed naturally 5 million years ago. In other words, this so-called ancient building complex is actually a masterpiece of microorganisms in ancient times and has nothing to do with human civilization. Because this sea area is quite special, there is a high concentration of methane dissolved on the seabed. After a large number of microbial communities gather on the seabed, they digest methane and convert it into energy, changing the composition of the sediment, which forms dolomite. It is estimated that in order to popularize science to the enthusiastic people and avoid similar oolong incidents from happening again, the scientific research team specially published a paper in the Journal of Marine and Petroleum Geology, reminding everyone that the pillars and discs in the ocean are not always antiques. Number 14. Giant pyrosome. Seeing that there seems to be no particularly frightening underwater adventure right then, the last one needs you to be careful. There is a giant creature in the ocean. Its body is like a thick pipe. One end is open and the other end is sealed, without eyes, nose, or mouth. It just floats limply in the water. Although they vary in size, they are basically more than 10 meters in length, and the extreme ones can even exceed 30 meters. The name giant pyrosome is very suitable for them. In detail, pyrosome is actually a very primitive sort of plankton. They only drift with the current and do not move by themselves, so it always seems to go to seed. But many people don't know that the reason why the giant pyrosome looks huge is that it is not only a single individual but is composed of thousands of pyrosomes of various sizes, and they use team strategies. As the number increases, their length will become more and more ridiculous. In fact, being too long is not a good thing, but it will reduce the efficiency of movement. In addition, pyrosome also has a very peculiar ability. That is luminescence. Imagine being surrounded by darkness in the deep sea, but they emit fire-like light. Isn't it a bit weird? Number 13. Port Royal. Now, when it comes to Port Royal, most people may feel that they don't know much about it. But if it is changed to Pirates of the Caribbean, will everyone be familiar with it? In the 17th century, Port Royal was an important city in the Caribbean. However, this is not only the base camp of pirates but also breeds various evil deeds such as gambling, alcoholism, and slave trade. It was once known as the most evil city on earth. But what ended all of this was not human beings but natural disasters, which can also be said to be God's will. On June 7, 1692, a strong earthquake occurred in Port Royal, followed by a tsunami. The entire port was turned into ruins. About 2/3 of the town sank to the bottom of the sea in just a few minutes. More than 1,600 people died. Such a legendary city disappeared in such a dramatic way. How could it not attract the attention of archaeologists? Unfortunately, it is not so easy to find its ruins. This city, which has only existed for 37 years, has disappeared for more than 300 years. Until recently, archaeologists at the University of Nottingham in the United Kingdom used optical mapping and robotics to not only successfully restore the appearance of Port Royal but also help lock the location of its site. Now, as long as the permission of the local government is obtained, people can spy on the mysteries of the pirate city through diving glasses. Number 12. Lion City. Everyone must be familiar with Qingdao Lake, known as the most beautiful water in the world. But many people may not know that there is a magnificent underwater ancient city, Lion City, under the beautiful Qingdao Lake. In 2014, the local tourism department organized investigators to conduct underwater exploration and found an ancient city at a depth of 25 to 40 meters at the bottom of the lake. So far, this 1,000-year-old city that has been sleeping for more than half a century has finally woken up again. Surprisingly, the entire ancient city is large in scale and the buildings are well preserved. The pavilions are just like the original ones. Even the carvings on the city walls are very exquisite, and there is no trace of time at all. In 2017, it was opened to the public as a scenic spot in the form of an underwater museum, allowing people to experience its charm for themselves. In fact, the Lion City has a long history, with a history of more than 1,400 years. According to records, this ancient city was first built during the Han and Tang dynasties between 20 and 200 AD. In 208 AD, it was officially named Suiyuan County, and the locals used to call it Lion City. In 1959, the Chinese government decided to build a domestic hydropower station here. In order to build this water conservancy project, it was necessary to block the dam to store water and build the Xiananjiang Reservoir. During the process of sealing the hole for water storage, most of the surrounding towns were submerged and nearly 300,000 residents were relocated. Fortunately, the hydropower station was successfully opened, and the newly built reservoir is now the famous Qingdao Lake. And Lion City, which sank into the lake back then, has once again glowed with new life. Now it's time for today's topic. Tour operators off Guadalupe thought they had seen everything, until the cage cameras captured a shadow that dwarfed the legendary Great White, known as Deep Blue. As the divers descended along the Pacific drop-off, a massive female great white emerged from the blue, easily stretching far beyond the length of their steel cage. Crew estimates later suggested it was nearly double the size of any previously documented shark in those waters near California. The animal moved slowly, scarred and ancient-looking, brushing the bars with terrifying calm. One diver reportedly signaled to abort the dive. Marine biologists reviewing the footage called it unprecedented. Some believe it may be the largest great white ever filmed along the North American coast. Number 11. Wine in the wreck. If salvaging the colossal objects is too much for experts, salvaging the contents of sunken ships is much more feasible. In 2019, an exclusive customized salvage ship made a special trip to the Baltic Sea to carry out a treasure hunt. Their goal is to salvage a cargo ship that sank to the bottom of the sea more than 100 years ago, carrying 900 bottles of precious French wine on board. It is said that during the First World War, the ship sailed from France to St. Petersburg, Russia, and the wine was going to be given to Nicholas II, the last emperor of the Russian Empire. Unexpectedly, the ship was stopped by a German submarine. Since alcohol products were smuggled goods at the time, the crew decided to save their lives and let the ship sink and return to the motherland safely. The wreckage of the sunken ship was first discovered in 1999, but due to the serious damage to the hull, many salvage teams have been unsuccessful until this time. The professional forces of Sweden, Russia, and Finland set off again and finally successfully fished up these centuries-old wines. Salvage personnel said that the wine was not only expensive in itself but also part of the glorious history of the Russian Empire. If you are curious about these wines, we can also reveal a few more words. There are 600 bottles of Delamain Pale and Dry and 300 bottles of Benedictine. Especially this liqueur, which is said to have been prepared by French monks more than 500 years ago, and Bacardi is now producing the same one. Number 10. Cancun Underwater Museum. There are many museums in the world, but perhaps only this one requires visitors to learn to dive first. The Cancun Underwater Museum in northern Mexico is built at a depth of 8 meters. If you want to visit it, you must learn to dive. Maybe everyone will have doubts. Since the threshold for visiting is so high, can this museum still survive? However, the attempt was so successful that according to official statistics, the museum has attracted 700,000 visitors a year since its inception. Many people even come to Cancun for this museum. The display of the museum is also ingenious. More than 500 real statues made of ecological concrete are exhibited here. Although they look similar to China's terracotta army, they have their own characteristics. And in order to allow the seaweed to have space to grow and reproduce, each statue also has its own edges and corners. According to the designer's introduction, the reason for doing this is to protect the ecological balance of the ocean, and it also increases the fun of visiting. Indeed, it seems difficult for us to find a more advanced museum than this one. While diving, we can enjoy art while having close contact with underwater creatures. Number 9. Dvarka Ancient Ruins. As one of the 4 ancient civilizations, India has always been full of mystery. There are a large number of temples and ancient ruins here, many of which have the background of mythological stories. It is striking that there may be a more real relationship between ancient Indian mythology and ancient ruins. In the hearts of Indian pilgrims, the ancient city of Dvarka has an irreplaceable position. Its history can be traced back to about 3200 BC. It is one of the 8 holy cities of Hinduism and the place where believers worship Krishna, the head of the gods. It's a pity that this old city was later submerged by floods, and its remains are also missing. Until recently, archaeologists made a major new discovery in the Gulf of Cambodge, India. At a depth of 36 meters, 40 kilometers from the coastline, scientists discovered a large-scale ancient ruins, which is likely to be the submerged old city of Dvarka. Coincidentally, in Hindu legend, Krishna's kingdom was flooded. To commemorate this god and his kingdom, his people built a city on a Gujarat peninsula in India. It is said that there are several ancient temples buried under it with a history of more than 3,000 years. Faced with such an astonishing similarity, many people may not be able to help but sigh. Is this a myth that has come into reality, or has the fate of this ancient city been written into the myth? Number 8. Titanic. The sinking of the luxury cruise ship Titanic is undoubtedly one of the worst disasters in human history. No one would have thought that the destination of the maiden voyage of the so-called unsinkable Titanic would be the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. Since it sank in 1912, people have never stopped searching for it. It was not until 1985 that investigators finally discovered its wreckage, and then researchers successively conducted multiple detections and photographed various scenes of the wreckage. In 2019, the team led by explorer Victor Vescovo launched a manned submersible for the first time, diving into the depths of the ocean at a depth of more than 3,700 meters and took pictures with a diving camera with a 4K lens. To their shock, only 14 years had passed since the last close inspection by scientists, yet the wreck was in a much worse state, with fragments disintegrating and the bathtub in the captain's bedroom missing. The starboard side that witnessed the love between Jack and Rose in the movie Titanic is also beyond recognition. Due to the erosion of deep-sea currents and microbial populations, the rate at which the wreck of the Titanic disappeared is accelerating. To understand how quickly the remaining wreckage continues to erode, Victor's team built a metal experiment platform and placed it near the wreckage by means of a robotic arm. Towards the end of the dive, team members held a small memorial service on deck in memory of all those who perished with the wreck at the bottom of the ocean. In a few more years, the wreckage of the entire hull will completely merge into the sea and cease to exist. Number 7. Ocean crop circles. Among the many unsolved mysteries, crop circles have always been on the list. Although there has been controversy in the scientific community over how to explain the large, flat, geometric patterns that appear on wheat fields for more than 40 years, people have discovered mysterious strange circles in the depths of the ocean. How to explain this? In 1995, a Japanese deep-sea photographer discovered these strange circles for the first time while diving. They not only have beautiful lines but also have very coherent patterns. In the following 16 years, scientific researchers, marine experts, and ecologists have explored around this mystery, but there has been no progress. It was not until 2011 that the truth surfaced. Scientists have discovered that it is neither humans nor aliens that left the mysterious circle on the seabed, but the famous local puffer fish. In order to attract females, male puffer fish carefully design beautiful patterns. To achieve the purpose of courtship, they will spend a long time in the sand on the bottom of the sea, planing little by little with their fins less than 15 centimeters until they are satisfied. It is said that male pufferfish are very clear in their hearts that the quality of their works will directly determine the grade of their other half, so they must take it seriously. Number 6. Cleopatra's Lost City. If there is one thing that everyone in the archaeological world is interested in, it might be the location of Cleopatra's tomb. As the last female pharaoh in ancient Egypt, Cleopatra's life can be said to be full of drama. She is not only outstanding in appearance and intelligence but also good at using means. Even Caesar was obsessed with her. But in the end, she was bitten to death by one of her poisonous snakes, which is embarrassing. What is even more bizarre is that her tomb has not been found for thousands of years. Historians and scientists believe that this is likely to be related to the frequent earthquakes in Egypt between 320 and 1303 AD. Temples and tombs were also submerged underwater due to the tsunami caused by the earthquake. Following this line of thought, a joint archaeological team led by Dr. Kathleen Martinez finally found a 1.3-kilometer-long underground aqueduct in a temple outside Alexandria, which is likely to unravel the mystery of Cleopatra's tomb. The tunnel is 14 meters deep from the ground, so there is still a lot of preparatory work to be done before excavation can take place. Martinez's team, which discovered important artifacts back in 1998, also found coins with images of Cleopatra and Alexander the Great, sphinxes, and other statues in the temple. All this looks like a good omen, and it is estimated that the disappearance of the tomb is not far away. Number 5. The Pyramid under the Sea of Yonaguni. When it comes to pyramids, many people may first think of the pyramids in Egypt, but in fact, under the ocean also hides this kind of mysterious ancient civilization. There is a rare island in the westernmost part of Japan called Yonaguni. In 1985, when a Japanese diver was diving on the seabed, he accidentally discovered architectural remains made of a large number of stones, which looked very similar to a pyramid. Since then, scientists have successively discovered various stone buildings, city gates, statues, and so on. They even saw hieroglyph-like patterns on stone walls. Divers who descended to the site described an eerie silence, broken only by the sound of their own breathing as massive stone terraces loomed out of the blue. Some of the structures appear to have sharp, right-angled corners and broad stair-like formations that seem almost too precise to be purely natural. Underwater photographers captured images of long, straight corridors and flat platforms that resemble ceremonial plazas. Marine life now drifts calmly over these formations, soft corals and schools of fish weaving through what could once have been bustling passageways. The shifting currents and filtered sunlight create dramatic shadows across the stone, making the entire complex feel like a lost city frozen in time. Each new expedition adds more intrigue, as sonar scans reveal additional geometric shapes, extending beyond what divers can easily explore. Where did this mysterious ancient relic come from? The outside world has been arguing about this. Some scholars believe that it is obviously man-made, but some people think that this architectural structure does not belong to the ancient civilization of Japan, so they boldly inferred that it is a masterpiece of aliens. However, according to the latest research by the scientific expedition team, it is generally believed that this pyramid is likely to be a temple used by ancient people for worship. Judging from the sand and stone left on the monument, it may have a history of 2,000 years ago. Meanwhile, the two rectangular boulders found around the gates, 150 meters long, 40 meters wide, and 27 meters high, were probably the cornerstones of the temple. Their tops are about 5 meters above sea level, presumably built at a later stage with additional manpower. Number 4. The imprisoned mermaid. Indonesia, the country of thousands of islands, has always been a sacred place in the minds of many diving enthusiasts. There are not only sunshine and beaches, but also many hidden pristine islands with beautiful scenery and a wide variety of marine life. A group of divers saw a shocking scene on the bottom of the sea here. They were diving in the remote Kokoya Maldives when they came across a cage in the dive area containing a dugong mother and her son. The dugong mother's tail was tied by an iron chain, and there were many wounds on her body, so she must have been locked up for a long time. Its desperate appearance makes people feel heartbroken. The calf hovered nervously beside its mother, occasionally nudging her as if trying to understand why she could not swim away. Each time the mother attempted to move, the chain tightened, scraping against her already injured skin and stirring clouds of sand from the seabed. The once graceful marine mammal, known for gliding peacefully through seagrass meadows, was reduced to circling within a confined metal prison. Bubbles from the divers' tanks drifted upward as they recorded the heartbreaking scene, their disbelief turning quickly into anger. It was clear that the animals were being used as living attractions rather than protected as part of the fragile ecosystem they belonged to. And the culprit behind this turned out to be the local fishermen. In order to earn huge profits from sightseeing, they imprisoned the precious dugong for tourists to take close-up photos. The divers were stunned to see the scene in front of them and immediately asked the fishermen to let the dugong go. Although the fishermen didn't agree at first, they agreed perfunctorily later. The divers were still worried and went to check again the next day, but the fishermen did not fulfill their promises. So they posted the video on social media and contacted the Indonesian Minister of Maritime Affairs and Fisheries to remind the authorities of the fact that dugong is endangered. As the video continued to spread on the internet, animal protection organizations also rushed to the rescue after hearing the news. With their joint efforts, the dugong mother and son finally regained their freedom. Number 3. Baltic Sea anomaly. Although human beings have never stopped exploring, the ocean and outer space are like two black boxes that will never be seen through. In 2011, a Swedish marine expedition discovered a huge device in the Baltic Sea. Because of its strange shape and unknown origin, no one knew what it was, so it was named Baltic Sea Anomaly. According to the memory of team leader Peter Lindbergh, he accidentally discovered this unknown object when he led the Ocean X team to search for the wrecked ship in the nearby waters. Its diameter is about 18 meters, and there are many traces of movement around it. From the appearance, it looks like a giant mushroom. Divers who later descended to examine it described steep, stair-like formations and what appeared to be circular grooves carved into its surface, features that only deepened the mystery. Some reports even claimed there was a strange, soot-like coating on parts of the structure, as if it had endured intense heat at some point in its existence. The surrounding seabed seemed scraped and disturbed, suggesting that the object might have skidded across the ocean floor before coming to rest. Sonar images revealed an elongated track behind it, fueling speculation that it had crashed or landed, rather than formed naturally. Crew members admitted that the deeper they investigated, the more the atmosphere on the ship shifted from scientific curiosity to uneasy fascination. For a moment, even seasoned explorers found themselves wondering whether they were staring at geology or something engineered. It is even highly similar to the Falcon spaceship that appeared in Star Wars, which led everyone to suspect that it came to Earth to perform a special mission. Joking aside, these unsolved mysteries are the norm for ocean exploration. But this time was a bit special. The Ocean X team found that every time they got close to this object, any electronic equipment and satellite communication facilities would fail. Only when they retreated to a place 200 meters away did the various equipment return to normal work. So they concluded that this unknown object could emit a certain powerful magnetic field. Maybe it was really a UFO or a spaceship. Until now, there are still many speculations, but this mysterious object is still lying quietly underwater. Number 2. The underwater ancient city Baiae. For some people, the city of Baiae may be a little strange, but in the long river of history, it once had its own bright moments. During the ancient Roman Empire, Baiae was a desirable place, not only with a mild climate but also with hot springs everywhere, and it was a gathering place for elites and celebrities. Many famous figures in ancient Rome, including Julius Caesar, lived here. Lavish villas lined the coastline, their terraces overlooking the glittering waters of the Gulf of Naples, where senators and generals hosted extravagant banquets that lasted long into the night. Marble columns, intricate mosaics, and elaborate bath complexes showcased the immense wealth of those who treated Baiae as their personal playground. It was whispered that political alliances were forged in its steaming baths, and that secrets capable of toppling emperors were exchanged under candlelight. The city's reputation for indulgence even earned it criticism from Roman moralists, who viewed it as a symbol of excess and decadence. Yet beneath the glamour, Baiae was also a marvel of engineering, with advanced hydraulic systems channeling geothermal waters into luxurious spas. The ground beneath the city, however, was restless, slowly shifting due to volcanic activity in the Phlegrean fields. Over time, this subtle but relentless movement would seal Baiae's fate, turning opulence into submerged ruins. However, in the 8th century AD, the Saracens sacked the city and Baiae lost its former prosperity since then and was finally completely forgotten. In the 16th century, with the frequent volcanic activity and the slowly rising water level, this low-lying bay city began to sink gradually and finally sank in the Gulf of Naples. But today, Baiae ushered in its own gorgeous turn and returned to people's vision as a large underwater archaeological park, attracting archaeologists and diving enthusiasts to explore. Tourists can take a glass-bottom boat and dive into the water to appreciate the ruins of ancient buildings, and at the same time feel the prosperity that remains in decay. For those who can dive, they can also go into the water by themselves and enjoy the vicissitudes of the ancient city up close. Number 1. Pavlopetri. Pavlopetri is definitely one of the earliest sunken cities in the Mediterranean. Although it was not discovered by geologists until 1967, the port city actually existed as early as the Neolithic age 3,000 years ago. When archaeologists discovered this ancient relic under the sea for the first time in 1967, they were shocked by the picture before them. They never imagined that there would be such a large-scale modern city here. There are roads, courtyards, houses, temples, and even a cemetery. It is no exaggeration to say that this place can exceed the design plans of some contemporary cities. Divers who first swam above its stone streets described the experience as gliding over a ghostly blueprint frozen in time. The layout was so clearly preserved that doorways, staircases, and even storage rooms could be mapped with astonishing precision. Some structures appeared to show evidence of advanced urban planning, suggesting the inhabitants carefully organized trade, worship, and daily life. Amphora fragments and pottery scattered along the seabed hinted at a once thriving maritime economy that connected Pavlopetri to distant civilizations. Standing on the nearby shore today, it is almost impossible to imagine that beneath the calm, shallow waters lies an entire city silently waiting to tell its story. After this attempt, archaeologists were preparing to conduct a second exploration of the ancient city in 2009. With the help of laser positioning and sonar scanning technology, the archaeological team made new discoveries. The city is far larger than previously estimated, and there are actually large halls and monumental buildings. This shows that the city had an important position at the time. But what caused the city to disappear? Marine geologists have yet to find a definitive answer, but most experts are more inclined to attribute the cause to changes in sea level or a series of small earthquakes caused by the ground subsidence. Now it has been opened to tourists as a scenic spot. This may be a good thing for tourists, but experts may not like it. After all, this ancient city is already a 1,000-year-old marvel. Even though it looks very young, it still can't stand the wear and tear of tourists. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.